Eric DIY here with another great fix-it video for you. Today we're going to fix this crank arm on my bike. It's very loose, and I tried tightening it down. I tried putting thread locker in there and really locking it down, which did survive a little bit, but it's time to replace it. So this video is going to be on how to replace your crank arm on a bicycle. First off, there's only one screw holding this thing on, but it's held on there pretty tight. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but it moves a little bit. And what it will do is it will loosen up over time when you're riding it. And most of the time, you just want to replace it. You know, sometimes again, you can get away with unscrewing this and putting thread locker on it. You're gonna take an 8mm little socket there and put it right in there, a hex wrench, if you will, an octagonal wrench, if you will. You're just gonna, this is the left side, so I'm gonna turn lefty-loosey. And just take the screw off out here. But you can clearly see the arm still kind of sticks on there. Pretty much, if it's not wiggling like this and it just came a little loose on the screw, put some thread locker on this. It's just a blue thread locker that you can unscrew this with still. And you want to wipe everything off. Like, see how it's a little dirty? It was actually a lot dirtier than that when I tried the thread locker. And again, it did work for a while, but I decided, hey, seeing I'm going to take this places and I need to kind of trust this, I'm going to replace this whole arm here. And as you can see, it doesn't come off easy. So we're going to slightly tap it with a hammer behind here, or with our hand, but I'll probably get a little hammer and slightly tap it in the back. All right, I got a sledgehammer. I'm going to move this down a little bit. We're just going to hit in the back and get it off. Closer to the edge here, the better. Ooh, there we go. Fell right off. So after taking it off, you can see what the problem is. The connector right here that goes on the spindle, if you will. I don't know if we call that a spindle, we're gonna go with it. It kind of wore down over time and it got all a little bent out of shape. If you look at the new one, it's nice and clean edges, no problems. And other things to note is that you need to know how many millimeters long the crank arm is, which this one is 170 because it says 170 at the end of that. And the last thing that you need to know to replace your crank arm is it a square or a diamond? It's a square if when you hold it up like this, it looks like a square. A diamond would be held up the same way, but it'd be crooked so that there's a point at the top and the bottom. That's the difference. So this is square. And again, diamond would have a point up at the top and the bottom. It'd be the corners. So I hope that makes sense. But this is clearly a square one because it has a square shape when you put it on the bike, and you can kind of see that with the spindle as well. Self-explanatory step: take your old pedal off the old crank arm. Second step, you'll reattach the pedal to your new crank arm. We're also going to put some lithium grease in there. That way it makes it easy to remove the pedal like it just was. That was wicked easy to get it out of there. So always put a little bit of grease right here where you're going to screw the pedal in. Now that we have the pedal on the new crank arm, what we're going to make sure of is that on the other side, the pedal is straight up, and the way that this crank arm attaches is it's going to go on 180 degrees, so it's just pointing the other way compared to the other pedal. What we're going to do first though is we're going to wipe this down really good and clean this spindle so that way there's no problems. Just wiping it down with a cloth, getting any dust or anything out there. Do not grease this. Some people for some reason think you should grease this, but you do not. You leave it as metal on metal. And that way it gets the best grip, because if you put grease on it, it could work its way off like it did before and make your crank arm loose. Before, make sure the other pedal on the other side is up, and your other pedal is going to go 180 degrees down on it. And seeing that we've cleaned this off, we can just put it right on there, and we're going to lightly tap it on there. So you can use your hand like I'm doing, or you can get like a rubber mat and put it on top and kind of bang it on there. But you want to be really careful because you don't want to bend any of that stuff that you had bent on there before. So I recommend just using your hand and just give it a couple taps there. Just get it really on there so that's stuck there. And you can kind of check it by just rotating it like that, make sure it's staying on there. Step would be to put the bolt back. But again, you want to clean this really well. Or you can just buy new ones. And you can see that they have some blue Loctite material on them. I'm also going to put some Loctite on there as well, but I'm going to put a new one in because this one looks okay, but I'm not going to trust it. I mean, if you're going to replace everything, this was 12 bucks. This was like $10 for 10 of them or something like that. I can't remember, but it's pretty cheap. And they're 8mm. You just have to make sure you have the right ones that you buy. 8mm bolt. I'm gonna use some Loctite on it, even though it has that blue stuff on there. And we're just gonna put on the threads before we thread it in there. And this should really hold things tight. And use the blue Loctite, so that way you can unscrew it later if you have to get it out of there. But we've got a lot on there. Bolt in, put on the 8mm hex wrench here, and put it right in there. And we're gonna just make sure that we got the threads there, which we do, and turn it in until it's very tight. Really make sure that you hold the pedal, and while you're tightening, you want to get this on there as tight as you can to keep the crank arm flush with the bike. Okay, that feels good. It's not wiggling, and looks pretty solid. So let's give it a ride. And that is how you replace a loose crank arm. This one's great. Know that the thread locker will take about a day to cure totally. It basically turns into like a plastic that will keep the threads really locked in there. But the blue makes it so that you can still unscrew it and get it out of there when you need to, which is the right one to use. If you use the red, it's gonna be really hard to get this out there. And I just rode it for a little bit, and it's staying on there. It's not moving around. I'm probably gonna tighten it down just a little bit more, just torque it down and make sure that it's gonna hold. I'm gonna leave links in the description below where I'll send you to Amazon where you can purchase all the parts that I used here, including the screw, the crank arm, Loctite, lithium grease, stuff like that you can use to make the same repair. Hope this video helped you a lot, making these for everyone out there to help you out as well. And appreciate all the support, and I will see you soon. Have a great day. As always, if you like this video, found it useful, please subscribe. And if you have a product that you would like reviewed, please contact Eric by emailing him at eric5150diy@gmail.com. Have a great day.